All right, what's going on, friends, family? Hope you guys are doing well. Hey, listen, um, maybe you're having a conversation like this with your friends. I know I've been having it with my friends for a while, and it seems to be coming back lately. So I thought, why not address it, and why not kind of take a look into what might be changing in the future, which is going to be great for your kids. Okay, so here's the conversation right now. It's like, if you're like me, millennial, maybe a little bit older, um, you probably benefited huge from the housing prices. Like when I bought my first house, I paid 285 for my first home back in 2000 and I believe 10. So 15 years ago. Well, that home today is worth over $1 million. Like our generation, we've become millionaires through real estate, and generations before us have become millionaires through real estate. Like, it really, if you just bought and sat on a home, you are a millionaire or close to it. Like you've gained a lot of wealth equity, and this has been generational. Every generation, like if you got into real estate, you got wealth equity. If nothing else, if you just paid your payments down, you got wealth equity. That has changed. In fact, right now the stats are showing the amount of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds that are owning homes these days is way down from previous generations. And it makes sense. I mean, how do you get into the housing market when an average home in the city you live in is 700, 800, a million, a million two, $3 million for a condo, a 500 square foot condo? It's like, it doesn't make sense. Right. And even back in the day when I bought my first home, income wise, if I was to guesstimate our income at the time, both my wife and I were working, it was like we weren't balling, but we were probably making, I don't know, 50, maybe $60,000 a year. Like nothing huge. And again, this was 15 years ago. $60,000 today is a little bit harder to get by on. Doesn't mean you can't, but when you make 60K and you buy a $250,000 home or a $300,000 home, like the math on that is like it's 5 times your income, right? And so we bought our first home 285. 6 months later, we sold it for 20K more, bought a little bit more expensive home closer to the city, and it was like, yeah, we bought a home that was 5 times our annual income, give or take. We both didn't have steady salary jobs, aka we made commissions or stuff like that, or it wasn't always, we weren't always like guaranteed 5K a month. Some months were more, some months were a little bit less. We had fluctuating income, but at the time, it was 5x our income. Well, that same home today is about $1.2 million. Let's let's just run those odds. Or those odds, not any odds. But if you're making $60,000 today, that's 20 times your income. So yeah, like no duh, it's been harder to get in here, but I believe there's a shift happening. That's right. I believe there's a shift happening here, and I want to talk about that because again, this has been a conversation. I've been thinking about this for my kids. I got 4 kids, 12, 10, 7. I don't know if you can hear one of them shouting in the background right now at her sisters, and 1-year-old. One of the worries, over the last couple of years have been like, holy cow, like the market that I had, the housing market that I had to get in and get established and build up equity relatively fast is not the market my kids are going to have. It's not the housing market my kids are going to have. In fact, and I think they'll be okay. Like we know how to invest, and we know how to build wealth through investing. So like I'm not worried about my kids per se. I mean, but I'm worried about a lot of people are having conversations and they're worried about their kids. Because if they get the average job, which is nothing wrong, you might have $100,000 job now. You might get into nursing, or might get into, policing or teaching or whatever, the many industries out there. But the average income has not adjusted for the average house price, and what the average house price has moved up. And you can blame governments, you can blame policies, you can blame so many things, immigration, bringing too many people into the country without having the resources that people need to really survive and do well in a country, aka they brought in way more people than they've built housing for, right? We can look at that as well, and you can blame so many things for it, but at the end of the day, all you're going to do is blame. There's no solution in blaming people, so I try not to sit there and blame people, or vent on, stupid policies by governments. And every government, every side has stupid policies, regulation. Or how about this one? The fact that people are incentivized to keep housing prices expensive. Right? There's a certain sector of the market, I call it the immoral capitalism. This is more of an immoral idea where you want to keep things inflated because you want to continue to capitalize on the high housing prices that you maybe have equity in. All right, I don't agree with that either, and we're kind of seeing a bit of that in the LA right now, in light of the LA fires and the rebuilding and everything that has to go on there. Well, I can tell you right now, there are certain interest groups that don't want to rebuild. Okay, but I won't go on that today. I want to help you. I want to share with you what I think's happening here. I think there's about to be a big shift in the market, in the housing market, that's going to open up the window and the floodgates for your kids, your grandkids, so forth and so on. Because it's true. Like, if my kids can't get housing here, where do we go? Do we go south? Do we go to another country? Do we move somewhere else? Right? The last thing I want is for my kids to live a life of not being able to afford things, and life's getting too expensive, and all this other stuff, which I don't believe is going to happen for my kids, and I don't want it to happen for your kids either. So I'm going to walk you through a couple things, shifts that I think are happening, and a couple things you can do to prepare for your kids. Number one, here's the shift that I think is going to happen here. So yeah, housing is expensive, real estate's expensive. To go buy a home in anywhere near any kind of city, if you want to be in any major hub, you're looking at a lot. At minimum, if you make $100K a year right now, and average home is $1 million or $2 million, you're 10 to 12 times your income. That's been the biggest and widest gap we've ever seen in major cities. Now, if you live in a rural town, maybe it's a little bit less for you, or if you live in, let's just be honest, if you live in a place where inflation hasn't overtaken, where immigration hasn't overtaken, and I'm not against immigration, as long as we do it the right way. I mean, I'm an immigrant as well, but my family did it the right way, right? And so, we're beneficiaries of doing it that way. Anyways, here's the shift that I can see happening. I think, given my kid generation, definitely by my grandkids generation. So I'm thinking 10 to 20, maybe 25 years down the road, which isn't that far, maybe even less. It's already happening, but I think we're about to adopt this on mass scale, is 3D printing homes. I've been looking at a few 3D printed homes here, and man, they are stepping up their game. Some of these 3D printed homes are looking really good right now, and you can do it at a fraction of the cost. Right? All you need to do is buy land, and let's be honest, land, in most places, not all, but in a lot of places, you can still get for a decent price. You go to you go an hour outside of LA, you can buy land at a good price. You go to an hour outside of any major city, you can buy land at a really good price. And I mean, if you live in LA or Toronto or New York or almost any major city, not all, but almost any major city, driving an hour outside the city isn't that long these days. It's not long anymore like it used to be. But you could buy land for a good price, and then you get your 3D printed home and build on that land. Heck, I'm willing to bet in the next 10 to 15 years, we'll see whole neighborhoods of 3D printed houses. This is where I think we're going to go, because this is where I think we're going to become more sustainable. I mean, 3D, like I said earlier, it's cheaper to print, cheaper to build, right? And so your costs come way down. Maybe $1 million home today is only worth, with a 3D printed house is $500,000, $500,000, which again, on $100,000 income, that's that's now 5 times your income, kind of back in line to what it was 15 years ago almost. This is the shift I believe is going to happen. And I believe this is good news. Now, here's the bad news for all you millennials and Gen X's and people who have made millions off your homes. This may bring the value of your property down. Now I don't know. I'm just guessing here. This isn't like Mike knows and what's going to happen here. But I'm just guessing here. If 3D printed homes become the new thing that all the younger kids are buying, then the younger generations are getting into, it's sustainable home ownership. I mean, let's be honest here. Like when government talks about having a sustainable home ownership, and that's not even the word they use. They use something else. They use a different phrase there. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? It's like what's considered sustainable these days? $1 million, that's sustainable home ownership? Like, I don't know. $2 million. I mean, when I bought my first home, like I said, 285, and that was for a really nice 4-bedroom, 3,000 square foot home. Like, it was really nice home, right? And so this idea that we have like sustainable housing or sustainable housing is I think it's a bit of a joke, especially when government gets involved, right? When government gets involved, it's like it always, I'll just be honest, government just raises the prices. They get in the way of things. They don't tend to be the champion of getting prices lower here. They tend to get in the way with policies and regulations and all that. They tend to be the problem, not the solution. All right, but 3D printing homes might be a way that we can lower costs. The next generation gets in sustainable home ownership, legit sustainable home ownership, which means, hey, your house might be coming down in value someday. This is a trend to watch. Who knows what's going to happen? The way I see it here is, is you can get OG, original gangster diamonds, from the mines, or you can now create diamonds in a lab, right? And they look identical. You probably can't really tell them apart, right? But how do you value one over the other? And I think that's where we're going in the housing market. So what do you do between now and then, right? Because we're still a little ways off. Doesn't mean you can't already. No, that's an option now. That's something people are doing today, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's at mass scale yet. Like, I would say we're getting there, but we're probably still 10 years out from mass scale, from having multiple neighborhoods with 3D printed homes and all of that here. And so what do you do in the meantime? How do you get prepared for this? How do you get prepared for that first home? Well, every kid's at a different age and stage, but here's what I'd highly, 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 highly recommend as your first step. Invest for your kids' future. Okay? Invest for your kids' future. Now, depending on where you live, there's different government programs you can invest into, which is great. I think Canada has like a first-time home buyers. U.S., you can do a Roth IRA to invest in that. And all over the world, there's different options available. But let's be honest, if housing prices don't become attainable, A, they'll never be sustainable, and B, it doesn't matter how much you invest into a tax-free account, you'll never be able to attain a home, right? So first thing is they got to become sustainable. But next here, like investing, like I've got a couple really good ETFs that I love. These are like my wealth generator ETFs, as I call them. They're the things I just hold, I buy into when the markets continue to do well, add into. And for the last 15 years, one of them has done 36% year over year for me, which has just been berserks. Right? So depending on how old your kids are, for example, I'm going to use Colby. He's 1, right? And we're going to run this to age 25. Let's just say at age 25, he wants to buy his first home. Because the idea right now, this is what's happening. There's really 2 options available. One, you've got the cash to go buy your first home. Great. Congratulations. Okay. You're probably overstretched. You're probably overpaying, or potentially overpaying. Well, in today's market, I would say, yeah, you are overpaying. I think houses are overvalued right now for the market we're in, but that's another conversation. So you're probably overstretched if you actually get into your first home. And then when you realize how much property taxes are going up, just cost of living, like utilities like gas and electricity, that's insane how much we pay for that these days. That's insane. This is why I'm so against taxing, the basic necessities that we need as an economy to run. Take taxes off all of that stuff. Anyways, so the first option is you usually buy a home and you're overstretched. 2, mom and dad take out a loan to get you into the house you want, aka they're going back into debt if they have a paid off home. They're going back into the mortgage game to get you set up. I don't love that idea either. Or the third model I've seen is everyone lives in a home. Mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, kids, maybe siblings are in the home as well, and you got multi-generation, multi-families in a home. And I'll be honest, like there's some... there's some cultures that that's a thing, That's not a thing in my culture. I don't like that. I don't want to live at home with like my siblings and their kids and my kids and their kids' kids. Like, nah, not a thing for us. So we've got a plan. We're currently investing. Hobie won't be buying a home for a good 20, 25 years. Hey, maybe before that, but we're guessing at 25 if he goes to get his first home. We're investing. So we've got these ETFs, that we're putting, for our kids. Right now we're only doing $15 a month. So what's that, 100, we might average $200 a year, maybe a little bit more. Well, 36% here, I don't know if you know this, but from age 1 to 25, $15 a month, if you can continue to average 36%, which I know is berserks, that grows to $2.4 million in 25 years. Like, oh my goodness, how is nobody at least presenting the idea? I know it seems crazy, and you might think, Mike, your numbers are so off, you're crazy, but for 15 years, I've been making 36% in this one ETF that I invest in. It's my car fund, and it's a few other things as well for me. That's $2.4 million. Let's just say I'm half wrong. That's still $1.2 million. By the time, your 1-year-old is an adult. Now, if you don't have a 1-year-old, maybe you've got a 10-year-old. Like me and my friends, this originally started with our 10-year-olds. We were like, concerned for them, right? So, for my 10-year-old, we've been investing with her now for 7 years, since she was 7. Again, $15 a month at 36%. That's, that doesn't grow too much. You ready for this number? From 7 to 25, $15 a month at 36% only grows to $295,000. Wow. Time and compound interest really do matter here, but we can always beef up what she puts away. She invests a bit of her own money. So we're doing like, we're averaging kind of closer to $50 a month for her. And that does grow to about $1 million by the time she's 25. So there you go. Boom. There's her down payment. Or who knows at that time, if 3D printing homes are sustainable and legit are priced well, that might be her paying cash for her home and then some, right? So it's still possible, guys. I want all the parents out there that are concerned. If you're like me, I know you're having the conversations. I know you're having the thoughts in your head, because I am. There's a way around it. One, more real sustainable homes, okay? Not just like what government thinks should be sustainable, because let's be honest, their metrics are just so out of the wazoo. It's laughable. But 3D printed homes, and maybe there's a shift that happens in the market as well. Okay, that could always be a thing. Number 2 here is while you're waiting, while they're still young, maybe you teach them. Or maybe you start investing for them. Maybe when they get a bit older, you teach them how to get a job and save that money. And you find funds that are doing 20, 30% or 15%, or, like you don't settle for these 4, 5, 6% returns. Those are garbage. Those have underperformed the stock market. Why would you even invest in those, right? You can do 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. I've got funds that are doing 40% year over year for the last 10 years, right? So it is possible. You might have to shift the funds every now and then, but it is possible. Now you might be thinking, Mike, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. How do I even get this started? The Generational Wealth Investment Club is where you get this started. Whether it's you that you want to build wealth for, whether it's your kids that you want to build wealth for, that's where it all starts. And so if you're interested in the Generational Wealth Investment Club, head over to moneycoachmike.com/call. You can always hop on there. Or, and probably a better way to get started actually is in the notes below. I'll have a link to a training I put together called 3 Ways Visa. That's right, 3 Ways Visa is building my wealth like a silent partner. Okay? Yeah, I just said that. 3 Ways Visa is building my wealth like a silent partner, and they can build your wealth too. They can build your kids' wealth too without having to go into debt and borrow money. All right, so if you're interested in that, I've got it in the links and the show notes below. Go hop on there, and we'll spend probably about 30 minutes is I think what that training was, about 30 minutes where I dive into literally generational wealth, how to get it started, how to do it. I teach a lot of the concepts I just walked you through, except you can see on the screen and you can write some of these ideas down, okay? So, hey, don't worry about your kids. Your kids are going to make it. They're going to be okay. If you are smart for your kids, they will not have to suffer and be like the status quo right now, which is status quo is renting, which, let's just be honest, rent's insane too. Rent's too overpriced, too expensive, right? It's just insane what we've allowed to happen. Anyways, I won't go there, but watch that video below. 3 Ways Visa is building my wealth like a private partner, and we're going to show you some examples of how to actually do this. All right, guys? Hey, listen, if you have any questions, always reach out. Happy to answer your questions. Happy to show you how to become wealthy. Happy to show you how to get debt-free for good. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.